Alright, this is Nick, and I will be continuing with the topic on significant figures. Significant figures continued. Again, I have voiced my personal opinion about significant figures. The reason why a lot of individuals don't bother with it or don't understand it very well has, I believe, has to do with its relevance. And not only its relevance, sometimes it's very difficult to make sense out of it at certain points. However, in many cases, it does become relevant, and individuals can use them. And with that said, let's continue with what I have in this video. Some clarifications. We have leading zeros. We could call them placeholders. Those are not significant. They're not significant. They're not considered significant figures. Then the second one, we have in between zeros, or some cases they're called captive zeros or sandwich zeros. These are zeros that are between numbers 1 to 9. They're between non-zero numbers, and these zeros are significant. And then you have the trailing zeros. Those are the zeros that go to the right of the first, well, the first non-zero um, number, and those are sometimes they're significant, other times they're not significant. Actually, in some cases they could come to the left also, but we'll talk about that. So this is the fourth rule number 4, and it has 3 conditions. This is really the zero rule. These conditions are specifically for the placement of zeros in terms of the decimals. Rule number 1: when there is no decimal, the trailing zeros are not significant. When there's no decimal, the trailing zeros are not significant. And here's an example. Alright, so we have 4,000 has 4 zeros, but there's no decimal point. And therefore you only have one significant figure. So it's rule number 1 that says that all numbers are significant. But I have to put condition 1 also. The reason why that is condition 1. Condition 1 applies in this particular case. Alright, for the other number, notice that I have put these two zeros in a different color, indicating that they are significant. And they are significant because of rule number 2. Remember, rule number 2 is the sandwich zeros. So, but condition number 1 means that all these four zeros, trailing zeros, are not significant. So therefore, the number of significant figures stops here, and we only have 5. So rule number 1, rule number 2, and condition number 1. And in the last one, again, this is significant, and these two are significant. There are 3 zeros. But in this particular one, since there's no decimal place, well, I guess condition 1 would sort of apply, but you don't even need condition 1 because this is being taken care of by rule number 1 and rule number 2. But I guess you can argue that condition number 1 also applies because of the lack of decimals. Well, the lack of a decimal. Okay, condition number 2 of rule 4. When there is a decimal, okay, when that happens, the trailing zeros to the left of the decimal are significant. The trailing zeros to the left of the decimal are significant. So let's look at the same numbers. Well, almost the same numbers. Here we have 40,000 with a decimal at the end. That gives us um, a significant figure of 5. All right. The other one, and notice that all the significant zeros I put them in a different color so they can be identified easily. Alright, so we have there in the second one we have all of those zeros being significant, but for different reasons. These two zeros are significant because of rule number 2. These are significant because of condition number 2 of rule number 4. Right? And in the third one, well, in this case again, this zero and these two zeros, they are significant, but the significance of those rules comes from rule number 2. Right? But because of the decimal, then we have to also include condition number 2. All right. Although without the decimal, it will still be the same. Yeah, without the decimal, it will still be the same. So for condition number 2 to apply, we'll have to put another 0. Right, we'll have to put another 0. Give it, okay, we're going to give it the color. Give it the color. Turn this to 4. And then now we have to turn this to 10. And now it's appropriate. Now it's appropriate to put condition number 2 and all the things associated with that. Okay, condition number 3 of rule number 4. When there is a decimal, the trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. Trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. And so here we have condition, actually this is condition 3. Condition 3, rule number 4. Alright, so here we have 6 zeros. 6 zeros and 1 decimal, and that gives us a decimal place of a significant figure of 7 for condition 3. And then we have 2 and 4, that's 6 zeros, and all those zeros are significant. So we have 6 plus the 3 numbers that are there, so the 3 non-zero numbers that are there. So we have a significant figure of 9. In the third one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 zeros. Okay, we have 5 zeros, and we also have 5 numbers. So that leaves us with significant figure of 10, and all of them do have 1 decimal place. Alright, so there you have it. The three conditions, and rule number 4, or of rule number 4 for significant figures. Okay, again, this is Nick, and thank you.